Hey guys, welcome back to the Anchored in Christ podcast. I'm your host, Christian Carl, and as always, how you guys doing? So, as you guys know, last episode we did John 10. Pretty powerful chapter. I just want to reflect. I mean, there was so much. I didn't even break down all the things I wanted to break down because there's a lot you could take from that chapter. I mean, there is a lot. And there's probably almost equal amount in John 11. And I always go over the chapter a few times before I give it to y'all. So I have a lot to break down, a lot to talk to you guys with. And man, I just want to first say again, thank you to you all being here, taking time out of your day to, read the Bible with me and go over it. I mean, it's great, and I'm doing this, just it helps me too, and it's nice. And I just want to let you guys know, I think coming Christmas week, I'm going to be putting out a lot. We're going to be breaking down we're going to kind of take a segment away and talk about a lot more about Jesus and the holiday and, the connection and kind of like the origin and the beginning. And so that whole week, we're going to take a break from John and really, really heavy in on that in Christmas because I want to do a lot for you guys and really get it out. And I think it's good that we all know, about Christmas and, the real story. But anyway, guys, I want to get into it today. So today we're doing John chapter 11. And if you guys got your Bibles, you're more than welcome to read along with me. If not, you can listen. And we're going to get straight into it. Now, a man named Lazarus was sick. He was from Bethany, the village of Mary and his sister Martha. This Mary, whose brother Lazarus now lay sick, was the same one who poured perfume on the Lord. Martha said to Jesus, "If you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask." Jesus said to her, "Your brother will rise again." Martha answered, "I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day." Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die. And whoever lives, they believing in me, will never die." "Do you believe this?" "Yes, Lord," she replied. "I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, and who is to come into the world." After she said this, she went back and called her sister Mary aside. "The teacher is here," she said, "and is asking for you." When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet entered the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who had been with Mary in the house, confronting her, noticed how quickly she got up and went out, they followed her, supposing they were going to the tomb to mourn there. When Mary reached to the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. "Where have you laid him?" he asked. "Come and see, Lord," they replied. Jesus wept. Then the Jews said, "See how he loved him?" But some of them said, Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying?" Jesus once more, deeply moved, came to the tomb. It was a cave with a stone laid across the entrance. "Take away the stone," he said. But Lord," said Martha, the sister of the dead man, "by the time there is a bad odor, for he has been there 4 days." Then Jesus said, "Did I not tell you that if you believe me, you will see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone, and then Jesus looked up at him and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that may believe that you sent me." When he had said this, Jesus called in a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." The dead man came out. His hands and feet were wrapped with strings of linen and cloth around his face. Jesus said to them, "Take off the grave clothes and let him go." Therefore, many of the Jews who had come out to visit Mary and had seen what Jesus did believed in him. But some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. Then the chief priests and the Pharisees called a meeting of the Sanhedrin, "What are we accomplishing?" they asked. "Here is the man performing many signs. If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him. And then the Romans will come and take away both of our temples and our nation." Then one of them, named Caiaphas, who was a high priest that year, spoke up. "You know nothing at all. You do not realize that it is better for you that one man die for the people than that the whole nation perish." He did not say this on his own, but as a high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus would die for the Jewish nation, and not only for the nation, but also for the scattered children of God, to bring them together and make them one. So from that day on, they plotted to take his life. Therefore, Jesus no longer moved about publicly among the people of Judea. Instead, he withdrew to a region near the wilderness, to a village called Ephraim, where he stayed with his disciples. When it was almost time for the Jewish Passover, many went up from the country to Jerusalem from the ceremonial cleansing before the Passover. They kept looking for Jesus. As they stood in the temple courts, they asked one another, "What do you think? Isn't he coming to the festival at all?" But the chief priests and the Pharisees had given orders that anyone who found out where Jesus was should report it so that they might arrest him. Now, flipping back to the beginning, John opens this chapter by telling us something important. Lazarus was sick, or he says Lazarus was sick, and Jesus loved Martha, Mary, and Lazarus. Now, John wants us to understand before anything happens that this family is loved by Jesus. He's telling us straight from the start. But John 11 immediately challenges that idea. I mean, we immediately come into disregard because, I mean, Lazarus isn't sick, but he's sinful. He isn't suffering because he lacks faith. He's sick despite being loved. Now, I think this teaches us that, I mean, something uncomfortable but true. God loves doesn't exempt us from pain. Like I said a few episodes back, I talked about how, our purpose could be pain. Like, we don't know God's purpose for us, but some of us purposes could lead from suffering because that's part of our path, and not because God's punishing us, because that's in line with what we have to do. And that's kind of what we're saying here. Just because God loves you, it doesn't exempt you. It doesn't, take away from pain. If you guys understand what I'm saying. Sometimes the people closest to Jesus walk through the toughest moments, the toughest challenges. Like they say, they give the hardest challenges the toughest warrior. Not because God is mean or God's trying to punish you, but because he's working you through the journey, working you through their story. And what I kind of got at was Mary and Martha, I'm sorry, would send word to Jesus. But like, if you guys notice how they word it. They don't tell him what to do. They don't accuse him, and they don't panic. They just say, "Lord, the one you love is sick." I mean, I think that's a great example of faith. I mean, they trust that if Jesus knows, he's going to do something about it. Even if they don't know how or when, they trust that he will act. I mean, this is a powerful example of honestly, I would say this is a powerful example of prayer, because it's honest, it's simple, and it begins in the relationship, just like prayer. When you're praying, that's the same thing. It's simple, being honest, talking to God, and it's your relationship with God, with Jesus. And Jesus responds to them by saying, "This sickness will not end in death, but for the glory of God." Now, that's true, but it doesn't stop Lazarus from dying. And I think this is where a few people can struggle with faith, I can understand that, because Jesus says something hopeful, then doesn't do anything for 2 days. Now they're probably thinking, oh, he's gonna save him, he's gonna heal him, he's gonna be perfectly fine. And then Jesus told them, but he didn't act for 2 days. And they probably were like, what? He lied. He didn't do anything. And they probably lost a little bit of faith, and they kind of struggled in their faith because they wanted it to happen then and there. They had no patience. They had no real faith really in Jesus, because otherwise, they would have known. But that kind of delay he gives them, that 2-day period, feels kind of mean if you're kind of looking at it on an outer perspective. But I think that kind of period shows us Jesus he's not trying to be fast. He's not trying to be quick. He's not on, being urgent. He's kind of doing it. He's trying to move on a purpose, I'd say. Sometimes I think God allows things to reach to a point where hope is exhausted, so his power is kind of unmistakable. If that kind of makes any sense for you guys. But Jesus tells us, his disciples, Lazarus is dead, and for your sake I am glad I was not there, so that you may believe. Now honestly, when I read that, I'm thinking, wow, that is harsh. I mean, that's a little mean. Like, you're being kind of cold to him, Jesus. But I think I kind of I didn't really understand what he meant. And it sounds bad until you understand what he means, because if Jesus had healed Lazarus before he died, he would have been seen as a healer. But I think by waiting, Jesus reveals himself as Lord over death. I think some lessons, he just can't teach them through comfort. He's got to teach them, they got to learn through surrender. Sometimes you got to learn through pain, through that suffering. And it can't always be taught, like nice and easy. Sometimes you got to suffer to understand. And when Jesus returned to Judea, it's dangerous, because the disciples already know people want him dead. And Thomas says, let us all go, that we may die with him. And that's a lot of faith, because Thomas doesn't understand the plan, but he chooses to be there over being safe. Now, he could have stayed out. He could have been like, oh, I don't want to go. It's pretty dangerous. We might all die. But he chose to go. He chose to be there. Basically, he's saying his presence there is more important than trying to be safe, but being there with Jesus. And that just shows that his disciples have so much faith that, it's that power, it's that love, it's that connection, it's that relationship with Jesus that really shows us that, it's strong. That's the kind of faith we should all be living in, is that same faith that Thomas was like showing us an example of right there. And sometimes, faith isn't just confidence. Sometimes it's more of refusing to walk away, standing your ground, standing in your place, not letting someone move you, but standing in your ground for a purpose. And when Jesus arrives, Lazarus has been dead now for 4 days. Now, this little detail matters because in Jewish belief, so I learned. Don't think I already knew this. I was very uneducated. I had to find out a lot of information about this chapter, but in Jewish belief, the soul was thought to stay around the body for 3 days. And by day 4, there was no hope, basically. And John is making it clear he's basically saying the situation is beyond fixing, which is exactly when Jesus steps in. Now, God often waits until the moment we say there's nothing that can be done to come in and do something to show us. Martha, a little bit ahead of that, Martha meets Jesus and says, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." Kind of sounds like she's accusing him, and it's heartbreak. It's really just heartbreak. She's broken, and she sounds like she's blaming the Lord, but I mean, she's hurt. She just lost her brother, and she believes that in Jesus' power and His strength, but she's struggling with that fact, that timing, that 2-day period. He promised, and he said he gave him hope, or he didn't promise, but he gave him hope, and then he wasn't there. And Jesus says back to her, "Your brother will rise again." And Martha agrees eventually. It took her a minute, but Jesus brings that faith connection into the present. And He says, "I am the resurrection and the life." Not, "I will bring resurrection." He doesn't say it's coming. He says, "I am resurrection." That resurrection isn't like an event. It isn't a thing that's going to happen. It's a person. It's Jesus. That's what He's telling Martha. And Mary says the exact same sentence as Martha. "Lord, if you had been here," but it's a little different because she's weeping, and Jesus responds differently to Mary because of how she's coming across. And this kind of shows me something that I kind of want to talk about, because it's kind of something nice. Like, Jesus doesn't give the same response to everyone. He gives the one you need to hear. Like, He gave Martha the one she needed to hear in that moment, and eventually it helped her. And He gives the same thing to Mary. He doesn't give them the same, same exact response, because that's how He's responding, but He gives them the response they need to hear instead of the one He just wants to say. Showing that He loves us all enough to help us with what we need, but not with what we want. Like to Martha, He gives the truth. To Mary, He gives tears, because that's what they both need in that time. Now, Jesus knows He's about to raise Lazarus, and yet He's still weeping. And I kind of thought, why? I mean, why is Jesus still weeping? Because he was gonna raise Lazarus. And then I kind of realized, going over this chapter again and reading it, He loves grieves, or like grief, like grieving. Is what I'm trying to say. Like, death matters, because that pain is real, and He knows that. And I think this kind of shows us God is not detached from us. He's not, emotionally distant. That faith does not cancel grief. You're still going to feel that pain. You're still honestly going to cry. It's still honestly going to be there. And when Jesus asked for the stone to be moved, Martha hesitates, saying, "Lord, there will be a bad smell." Fear sneaks in. Even when we believe in God, we sometimes struggle to trust Him fully. And everyone listening, I mean, we all believe in God. We all have faith in God, I hope. But I know we all struggle sometimes to trust Him fully. And sometimes that's the hard part, is giving Him all your trust and just letting go, being free. Because we all want that security holdment, that guarantee. And Jesus responds, "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" Faith often requires removing what feels uncomfortable. I said this last episode, and I said that the episode before about talking about faith and being uncomfortable. You gotta cut out the things that are in the way of your faith. That when you really feel that connection to faith and you feel uncomfortable, that's that's kind of the parts that's making you feel uncomfortable. You need to cut out. Jesus calls Lazarus by his name after this part. To me, this matters a lot, because if he had just said, "Come on out," every grave would have been emptied, right? If he just said the words, "Come out," I mean, there was a lot of graves there. A lot of people would have just started rising up, and I mean, everybody probably would have got risen. But he has honestly, reading this, I thought, it's insane the amount of power Jesus has, the amount of control he has, that even something that we think is so bad, like death, like dying, Jesus just says, Lazarus, come out. And even death listens, and he rises, and he walks out. Dead, fully dead. This man is fully dead for 4 days. And they believe on the 4th day there's no coming back, because the soul leaves and it moves on. But he goes there, and all he says is 3 words, and this man rises up and walks out. He's still wrapped. He's got the grave clothes on him, the cloth and everything, meaning this happened instantly. But that time for him to restore, that still takes time. For him to come back, it still takes time. And Jesus tells the people, unbind him and let him go. God raises the dead, but he uses people to help remove what still binds us down, what still holds us down, the chains that are weighing us down. Because healing often happens, healing happens in stages. It's not instant. We all know that. I've healed before through past griefs and everything, and it takes a while. It's you got the crying stage, or you got a lot. Everybody has different stages, but I think we all definitely have stages. Instead of celebrating, though, those leaders plot for death. The one leader, Cephas says, "It is better that one man die for the people." Now, he's kind of saying, when I hear this, I think life for many through one person, one death, one sacrifice, like Jesus did, dying for everyone's sins. All that weight on him, on one person, one sacrifice. And it's wild. And I think once we get to John 12 is going to be really big, because we're getting into something pretty wild. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to get into it. I know if I address it, I'm going to end up talking a lot. So I'm not going to get into too much of the next chapter, but I will say a lot. These 2 chapters, this one and the next one, are really going to connect, and it's going to be a lot, because now they're planning that they're planning to kill Jesus. Right now we're getting to this point where they're plotting his death. They're getting ready for it. They're trying to get rid of him because they're fed up with all the miracles he's doing, and they're worried that the Romans are going to come down and take from them because of what Jesus is doing. But overall, I think what we all can take away from this chapter, and honestly, the things I can take away are Jesus feels with us. Like he struggles when we struggle. He can feel that, because he wept for Lazarus just like Martha and Mary did. He went through that just like them, felt that same pain, cried just like they cried. So it shows us also that faith can exist even when we're grieving. That we still have that faith even when we're grieving. We're going through that pain, we're crying, we think all hope is lost. We still have that faith. We still have Jesus right there. right there. Just like I always say, even when hope feels gone, feels like it's not there, and you've lost it, God isn't finished yet. Now, I will say, if it feels too late, even now, I mean, Jesus is still there. He's still got power. He's still got authority. He still cares. He's still trying his best. But I did think this chapter, I mean, it was a lot to talk about. It's powerful, and it really shows us how Jesus is always connected to us. That he actually truly cares about us, about things happening to us. Just like losing Lazarus for Martha and Mary, I mean, he was right there next to him. He was with them for that pain. And at first they doubted it because, that gap of 2 days, he came in, gave them hope, and was gone for 2 days. And they were like, whoa, what? He died. You let him die. You gave us hope and you disappeared. But he came back and he told them. And eventually he had to wait for that right moment, and then he rose him. On that 4th day after he died, when they all thought it was over, there's no way you can come back. It's impossible. But he came back, and that's exactly what he did. He showed us the impossible. Showing us to have faith. To not lose it, to not weaken it, but to strengthen it. That's exactly what I think this whole chapter talks about. And like I always say, I mean, it's one of the favorites I've read so far in this series and reading the book of John. But it's been good, and I just want to say thank you to you all for tuning in, and just be ready for next episode when we dive into John chapter 13, because it is going to be, once we get on the topic of Jesus's crossing, it's gonna be a lot to talk about. I mean, a lot to cover. It's gonna be big. It's gonna be a lot, and I just, for you all to be ready for it. But thank you all for being here. I mean, taking time out of your day to come and listen to the podcast and come over to the book of John with me. I hope you guys took away something from this and maybe can spread it and give it to somebody else, and maybe talk to it about somebody else. Maybe read the book of John for yourself, or just hopefully strengthen that connection with Jesus and maybe help other people build that connection too. And that's, I think, it's going to be all for this episode, guys. So as always, stay anchored, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you.